What's going on, guys? My name is Demolisher, and this is my very last Black Ops gameplay. Now, before, maybe a couple of times, I've said that I would not be posting anymore, but since I had this one saved, and Black Ops is coming to an end, hopefully a permanent end, and this is literally the last gameplay I have recorded, I figured I'd go on and put it up, because I literally won't be recording any more Black Ops, or probably playing any more Black Ops, so there's no point in not making use of this gameplay. Also, if there's any of you guys who are singers out there and like singing on Rock Band or the newer Guitar Heroes or anything like that, but want some new songs, Sing 4 is a new karaoke style singing game for the Nintendo Wii that's coming out, and they're hosting a contest on their channel where you submit performances and you could win some pretty big prizes, so you should check that out. There'll be a link in the annotation as well as the description, and just go give their channel a drop. Tell them Demo sent you. Yeah, in this video I want to talk about testing and, yeah, like exams for college and stuff, because some people want to hear more of my college talk, and I'm not involved with a lot of the crazy party stories you might want to hear, so I don't really have much to share sometimes. But I want to talk about exams for a minute, and you may be thinking, what the hell, I don't want to hear about exams, but it's some helpful advice. For one, take them, especially if you're a fan, subscriber, whatever, that is in high school or not yet in college or whatever. You may not realize that tests are pretty much your only grade for a lot of classes in college. I've had a couple that's not the case with, but for the most part, your tests are your grade. And you have, at least for the general aspects of lectures, you have maybe 3 tests. So if you fuck up, you're screwed. So yeah, make sure you go to your test and take your test, but also make sure you study. And I'm one who came from college and was like, haha, study, or came from high school rather, and was like, haha, studying, yeah, right. Because I studied 0 in high school. I mean, maybe a little bit, but that was it. And so I took my first couple tests thinking, not gonna need it, and it kind of blew me in the face and got jizz all over my face, and I had to decide to not do that again so I could save my grades in the class and still do well. And it's not that I'm stupid, I'm extremely smart, and the classes are extremely easy. I just didn't look over the material, and it was in classes I didn't pay attention to in the classes at all. I was just sitting there playing on my laptop. So it does some good to study, especially if you're not going to pay attention in the class, which isn't common. What's the point of paying attention? Just kidding. Anyway. Yeah. So again, my take on testing is that is pretty heavily against studying. Like, for me, if either I know it or I don't know it, last minute cramming or trying to explain things to me last minute isn't going to help me, because either I know it or I don't. And so, especially if you're like me and therefore don't study that much, because again, either you know it or you don't, you kind of have to adapt your study style different. What a lot of people do is spend like the last day or so before the test studying their asses off and cramming everything that they can. That's not going to work if you're like me, because you don't already know it, and just putting it in your head, you're not going to remember it. And I also want to talk about the 2 different ways I took a test today, because I took 2 different ones. But yeah. So what I did was, basically the way you learn things, the way you get better at things, is by repetition. It creates the neural connections between your neurons in your brain, and you get better at it as you repeat the same thing over and over. So if you're not going to go hardcore into that, you can at least make a couple days early before your test, start studying, just review the book chapters for your textbook, or review your notes, sorry about that, or review the slides that the teacher went over, or whatever like that, and start studying that way. Then take your own notes, do your own practice exercises or what have you, and then when you get closer to time, go back over everything real quick before the test, and you should be good. If there's practice exercises, make sure you do those multiple times. Don't look at the answers until you do them, and make sure, like I said, a couple days in advance, you actually know the stuff, that you're not just reviewing it and then ignoring the stuff you don't know, because I do that a lot, and that screws you over, especially if you study last minute. If you study last minute and you don't know, like if there's things you don't know, you're not going to know them for the test, even if you cram like what they are last minute. It's not going to help. Also, important part to test taking is being awake. My first test today, I was not awake. because it was at 8 a.m. I always stay up late and never get any sleep, and so I was freaking exhausted. I tried chugging a Sunkist for some caffeine, but and I had a tiny bit of breakfast, but otherwise I was not awake at all. Well, that's a problem. Your brain does not think properly when you're like that, so try to be physically active and make sure you get some food, some calories in your body so you have energy, and make sure you're awake. I take showers to make sure I wake up. It didn't really help today, but it helps overall. And I still did well on that test, I believe, but it's a lot, you're a lot more attentive and a lot more focused when you're physically active and your brain is completely awake in order for you to take your test. My second test was, like, my first test was at 8 a.m. after me being very tired. My second test was at 2 p.m. Now, in the meantime, I had my 8 a.m. class that I took the test in. I was supposed to have English class next at 9, but that got canceled, so I just kind of hung out and updated YouTube and things like that. Then from 10 to 11, I had another class, so by that time, I'm kind of waking up. But then at the end of that class, I was already falling back asleep. Well, I went over to my ex's house and, well, to put it bluntly, I got some. And so I was physically awake and ready to go. Not to mention the fact that I left with barely any time before my 2 p.m. test, and so I had to run across campus. So between that and the running, I was wide awake and ready to go. I was thirsty as hell, but I was wide awake. And this was both beneficial and hurtful to my test performance. It was beneficial because I was wide awake, I was active, I was completely energy and focused, and kind of motivated, if you know what I mean, to do well. But it also kind of hurt me because I was doing that and completely, like, forgot everything last minute that I had learned. But that's okay, because again, if you study ahead of time, then you know it. Again, for me, you know it or you don't know it. So I forgot some specifics that I would have been able to use on the test, but other than that, I did pretty well. And so, while I'm not suggesting you go do that right before your test, at least make sure you get some sort of exercise, that you've walked around, that you're good and stretched out and awake. Your heart's beating pretty fast, you're ready to go. And not so much that you're completely ADHD and not able to pay attention, but that you're active and awake. So yeah. For whatever reason, I just felt the need to rant about this today when I got home after my test, and yeah. So thank you for listening, and hope you enjoyed the video. Check out that Sing 4 contest. They got some pretty cool stuff over there. And do well on your test. If you'd like to hear any other stuff about college or what have you from me, just let me know in the comment section below. I'll try and see what I can come up with to talk about. Again, I'm not necessarily a hardcore partier, so that hasn't been a good topic for me. But we'll see what we can come up with. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day. Please comment, rate, and subscribe. You know the drill. And yeah, bye-bye.
Securing Charlie.